Hello, everyone. This is Station 2, Vocabulary Lesson 1 story. And these are the directions. Okay, so if you're watching this video, you've read through all the directions and you know what it says on the sheet, but I'm just going to kind of start off from here and go on. So first off, the students will pick up these directions and the grading rubric. Then they will read all the instructions before they begin. Just a FYI, if you haven't already noticed, the grading rubric is on the back of the directions. So everyone needs to take a direction sheet. Everybody needs to put their name on the direction sheet. You need to put due Friday, September 14th, and you need to turn that into the bucket when you're done so that I know and I can use that to grade with. Okay, number 2, second, students will go to Google Classroom and look for Station 2, Vocabulary, Lesson 1, Story Directions in the Topics tab, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. Next, the student will click on the video that I'm going to put in Google Classroom in just a few minutes and watch it so that they know what they're supposed to be doing. Number 4, then the students will use their guided notes that they should have, and they will write a short story using at least 5 of the vocabulary words that they studied this week. They may include more than 5 words, but the minimum is 5. They may talk over ideas and make a pre-write list with a partner in their group. They will write separate stories. Their stories will not be exactly alike. So what does that mean? You are basically creating a story based off of your vocabulary words like adjacent or barren, okay, insinuate, interrogate, and you can work with your partner to kind of come up with ideas, brainstorm, but each of your stories should be different. I don't want to look and see Fred's story and George's story, and I basically am reading word for word the same story on both pages with a different name of a student, okay? So they have to be a little bit different. Number 5, students will check over the rubric that is given to them to make sure they have completed everything. And lastly, they will turn in their story to Google Classroom by the due date that is listed. So there's your directions. Bear with me, I forgot to pull up my classroom tab. Okay, so you're going to be in classroom. You're going to scroll down on the side. You're going to see these topics. Station 2, the second vocabulary. It's going to take you to vocabulary lesson 1. Here you see the directions. Here you see your grading rubric, and shortly there will be a video as well. Okay, so then I'm going to go to the rubric. This is the grading rubric. So this is what I'm going to be looking for. You have organization of the paper, content and ideas, organization, vocabulary/word choice, grammar, spelling, punctuation. Okay, so if you look at the first section, I have a description in the first column. It says for organization of the paper, students will have the proper heading with a name, date, and class period, title with proper capitalization, and orientation, which means it should be centered on the paper. It will be bolded and underlined, and paragraphs will be indented. Okay, so 4 means it exceeds the standard. You've got everything that you need, but you want a little bit over and above. 3 means you meet the standard. 2, almost a standard. 1, below standard. And 0 is no grade because there was no attempt and I didn't get it. Okay, so typically, the 4 category, there's not going to be any mistakes. Okay, in this case, it says the students are missing one of the items that's mentioned, or he or she has a mistake within a section that is mentioned. Okay, 3, the students are missing 2 of the items that is mentioned, or they have 2 mistakes within the section that's mentioned. Okay, and I'm not going to go through each and every one, but a 2 would be 3 of the items are missing, or you have 3 mistakes within it. 4 items are missing, or there's 4 mistakes within these things that you mentioned. Okay, like you didn't indent any of your paragraphs. There's no proper capitalization of the title. things like that. Okay, content and ideas is the next thing. Students show their understanding of the words through a narrative of story. Students will write a purposeful and focused manner. It has relevant details, so you're going to describe the vocabulary words in detail, and the story will contain at least 5 vocabulary words. A 3, it will lack purpose and or focus. It has some relevant details, and the story will contain 4 vocabulary words. Almost to standard, students will lack purpose and or focus, has few relevant details, and the story will contain 3 vocabulary words, and for a 1, students will lack purpose and not be focused. It has irrelevant details, like the details don't go along with the words and the story, and they have 2 or less vocabulary words. So those are all for content and ideas. Organization. Students will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. They'll have a topic, a sentence, supporting details, and a conclusion. So to get a 4, you have all those things. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have a topic sentence. You have supporting details and a conclusion. Okay. 3, you're going to be missing one of these parts. 2, you're going to be missing 2 parts. And then a 1, you just write random sentences and there's no sense of organization, or you don't attempt it at all. Excuse me, vocabulary word / word choice. Students will use their vocabulary words correctly based on their parts of speech. And I'll show you in just a second. I'll remind you of what that means. So for a 4, students will use all 5 vocabulary words or more, if you added more, correctly based on their parts of speech. A 3, you're going to use 4 vocabulary words correctly. A 2, you're going to use 3 of those vocabulary words correctly. And then a 1 would be 1 to 2 vocabulary words used are correctly we'll use correctly based on their parts of speech. And then grammar, spelling, punctuation. Students will use proper grammar, punctuation, and spelling. You don't have any mistakes, that's a 4. 1 mistake is a 3 in one of those areas. 2 to 3 mistakes is going to be a 2. 4 or more mistakes is a 1. Okay, and if you don't attempt it and there's a lot of grammatical errors, then, if it's so hard to read that I can't figure it out, it's a 0. Okay, so that's your grading rubric. That's what I'm going to be looking for when you're writing your story. Okay, so let me just remind you. Bear with me. Here are the guided notes that you should be using. And as you see, like adjacent, it has ADJ. If you remember, that's an adjective and that's a describing word. And if you remember, adjectives describe nouns. So if you're going to say adjacent, you're going to have to tell us where it's adjacent or where it's near to or alongside. Okay, just like disrupt is a verb, you need to use it as an action word, as something that you are doing or someone's doing. Okay, germinate is another word that's a verb. So it's something that you do. So these are what you should be looking at, as well as the definition, to be able to use the words correctly in your story. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to set up your actual page. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come up here and you're going to type your last name, comma, first name, and you're going to put vocab story. And you can just put 1, okay? Then you're going to come over here and you're going to change your font size to 12. Please don't make it any bigger than 14, but I would stick with 12. So you're going to put your name, you're going to put your class period. So we'll say, I'll be part of period 1, okay? And then you're going to put the date. You can put today's date or you can put the date that it's due. Okay, so there's your heading. It's on the left-hand side. Then you're going to go down and leave a space, and you're going to go over in the center, and you can say vocabulary, lesson 1 story. Bold it and underline it. Or if you want to come up with a catchy story, I'm okay with that. Okay, then you're going to get rid of your bold, get rid of your italics, take it back over to the left side. If you saw how I did it, I went from here, center alignment to left alignment. And then I'm going to go up here to format, and I'm going to go to line spacing, and I'm going to change this to double. Okay, and it should work, hopefully. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick, and if you want to, you could come up with which vocabulary words. Like, I think I'm going to use adjacent. I'm going to use disrupt, germinate. Actually, no. I'm going to use interrogate, and I'm going to use insinuate. And I'm going to pick one of my other vocabulary words. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to brainstorm what kind of story I could come up with. I'm going to put dynasty. Okay. And then I'm going to come up with some ideas. Like, we could have a ruling family. We could have them some kind of court case with the king, and someone disrupts it, and then people insinuate that they did something that they might not have done, and the king's castle was adjacent to the person's house. So there I brainstorm some ideas, and then I'm going to come up with a catchy way to bring it in. So some catchy sentences might be, so topic sentences. And I'm just going to put these on here. You don't have to type this part. Some ways you can start your story. You could start it with a question. Like, ask us a question about the king. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have to go and be interrogated by a king or queen or ruling party or a judge? Okay. You could set up a scene. Like, imagine walking into a courtroom and a wise old king is sitting there waiting for you. You have to tell your side of the story, and he is going to interrogate you with questions. Okay. You could use a quote, or you could just make a statement. So those are some ways. So you don't have to brainstorm like this. This was kind of just my little bit of ideas, kind of threw some things out there for you to get you thinking. And now you're going to go to it. You're going to write a short story. I know you're going to ask me, how long should it be? 1 to 2 paragraphs. How long should the paragraphs be? Probably 6 or 8 sentences. You have to have a topic sentence. You have to have your 5 vocabulary words in there, right? And you can combine words in sentences if you want. Don't try to put all the words in one sentence. That won't fly. And I've had kids do that in the past. So this is your vocabulary lesson 1 story. If you have any questions now that you've watched the video, please come see me. And once you have your doc set up correctly, bring it up to me and I'll give you a shield. So have a great day. If you have any questions, come see me. This is due Friday, September 14th. So hope you enjoy, and I can't wait to read